It's widely known that blacks generally support Democratic candidates. In fact, according to a 2008 Pew Research poll, 72% of African Americans identify as Democrat, while only 2% identify as Republican. And these Republicans often face bitter disapproval by other blacks.
Not to say that black Republicans are sellouts, but they tend to be the more like upper class, the people who are already established, who already have, they don't need, social security or public assistance.
I think they are out for the money. They are, they're all for themselves. They're all for the rich people.
Republicans don't give a damn about a black man.
No.
You understand?
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, every black man that's involved with the Republican Party is a house nigga. That's the way I feel.
Brian Cooper has had to deal with withering criticism like this for decades.
Yes, so I'm Brian Cooper. I'm the Republican district leader. Hi.
Republican?
District leader, yes.
Oh, Congress?
No, I'm the community leader here.
Oh, just a community leader.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Cooper is a district leader for the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He says he's the only African American in either party who represents a district below 60th Street. Cooper was once apolitical, but says a Hollywood actor turned politician changed him.
Ronald Reagan was a fiscal conservative guy. And he was a very inspirational. You can say that he was the Republican Barack Obama of the time. And it was more like, you know what? Government is not going to help you. Okay, you may think that, but they're not. It's time for you to help yourself. And, we'll show you the way, but the rest is up to you.
And that's the approach Cooper says he's taken over the years in his district.
What do you like more about your district?
The people. The people are very special.
But there are those in his district who do not return his good feelings, even heckling him at times.
They tease me. I get teased a lot.
What do they say?
And they just said, "Oh, Mr. Bushman," or said, "Hey, Brian, what's going on? How's Bush doing? How's Cheney doing?" I said, "I don't know." Well, that's it. Every election cycle, I get tons on top of tons of the opponent's campaign stickers and flyers, and they paint it on my door.
For many black Republicans, this type of treatment is common. Carmen Van Kerchkove is the executive director of New Demographic, a company offering sensitivity training for different companies struggling with racial divides and stereotypes.
There's this tendency for people to get upset because you're sort of airing the dirty laundry and things like that. So I think that it is very easy for black conservatives or Republicans to get caricatured as these, quote unquote racial sellouts, or they're just really trying to further some type of white supremacist agenda. And so I think the diversity of political thought becomes very dumbed down in terms of how it's portrayed.
It's the one bias that is still allowed.
Robert George is an editorial writer for the New York Post. Prior to that, he worked for the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, a conservative Republican. George says black Republicans often face pressure to change.
I was attending a conference out in Boulder, Colorado. And there was a woman, and she was sort of grilling me as to why I'm Republican. I was talking about my independent views and things like that. And she said, "Well, why don't you just become an independent?" And I said, "Well, why don't you be an independent?"
Leonard Wanchicon, a professor of political science at New York University, says it's common for black people to believe that black Republicans are sellouts.
The black, in terms of voting behavior, is a very cohesive group, more or less, So when someone holds different view from the group, very easily he will be stigmatized. But also, it's what Republican has stood for the past 40, 50 years, anti-affirmative action, anti-civil rights movement, anti-poor or in terms of policy, they have never been perceived as pro-black.
While both parties have unappealing chapters in their histories when it comes to race, George thinks a representation of blacks in both parties could give black people more political power.
It seems that there are a number of white liberals and many African Americans who are, when they encounter a Republican, a black Republican, feel that a 90 to 10 percentage for one party isn't enough. It's like, well, why aren't you part of everybody else?
Black voters were not always committed to the Democratic Party. For over 60 years after the end of the Civil War, when black people were first given the right to vote, they were heavily Republican, partly because of President Abraham Lincoln's work in freeing the slaves. It wasn't until President Franklin Roosevelt created the New Deal in the 1930s to help people during the Great Depression that black voters crossed party lines. But among black Republicans, there are renewed efforts to persuade black people to turn away from the Democratic Party. This ad was created by the National Black Republican Association.
Dr. King was a real man.
You know he was a Republican.
Dr. King, a Republican?
Democrats passed those black codes and Jim Crow laws. Democrats started the Ku Klux Klan.
White hoods and sheets?
Democrats fought all civil rights legislation from the 1860s to the 1960s. Democrats released those vicious dogs and fire hoses on blacks.
Seriously?
And the Dixiecrats remained Democrats and vowed to vote for a yellow dog before a Republican. Republicans freed us from slavery and put our right to vote in the Constitution.
What?
Republicans started the NAACP, Affirmative Action, and the HBCUs.
Sounds like Democrats have bamboozled blacks.
Democrats blocked the minimum wage passed by
A few decades ago, Brown changed parties from Democrat to Republican, but he now functions more as an independent.
And if I can identify with a candidate who and focus on some of the things that I think are in the best interest of me as an individual, of me as an African American, and the best interest of my community, then yes, I will cross party lines.
Many black Republicans live with the constant dilemma: should they go with their ideology or their race? The candidacy of Barack Obama has compounded the issue, offering a huge challenge to some moderate black Republicans.
My loyalties now, it's not with the party, it's with the people. I used to be loyal to the party, but now, even though that I am part of the party, I am not 100% loyal, because now I have to think about other things other than just, who's backing McCain or whoever the Republican. Just because that person is a Republican, that does not mean that you have to back them 100%.
Who do you see yourself endorsing?
I am not endorsing McCain, that's for sure.
I'm impressed with Barack Obama, Senator Obama. I'm proud of his presence in this presidential race. A lot has gone into making what Senator Obama is currently doing, making that possible. So I can't help but to have much appreciation and respect for him and his presence in this race. It just thrills me to be able to say that. I'm not sure if I seriously gave it thought of being a possibility of it happening in my lifetime.
But many have seen black presidential candidates in their lifetime already, which is why they take care to mention that they wouldn't just vote for any black candidate.
The people who've run for president before in more kind of symbolic candidacies, your Jesse Jacksons and your Al Sharptons and so forth, they are kind of protest candidates. They certainly come out of the religious clergy tradition that has been that have demonstrated the great leaders in African American politics, and obviously most notably Martin Luther King Jr. But Barack Obama is, clearly something different.
Brian Cooper says other black Republicans say that Barack Obama's candidacy is so special that many will value race over party loyalties.
Of course I'm gonna vote for Obama. The bottom line is, I'm a black person first. I'm a black man first. Because that's how the world sees me anyway, until I tell them. So that's the way it is.
For Blackline, I'm Rob Thompson.